Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the Real Mr. Robinson, and this is my review for The Turning, which is the latest adaptation of a novel called The Turn of the Screw. The movie stars Mackenzie Davis as a woman who leaves her job as a teacher and ends up becoming a governess for two orphaned kids whose parents died years ago. Or at least that's what she finds out when she gets there, because she was told she's just looking after a girl. And it doesn't even take a full week into her job to realize that there's some weird things happening in this house. So this is a movie that I really had no intention to see. I know it's my job to see as many movies as possible, but the trailers did not look interesting at all. But what really sold me was the response this movie got. This movie has been critically bashed by everyone, and in an era where audience and critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes are vastly different, this is one of those rare and weird instances where the tomato meter and the audience score are the same rating, 13%. However, Rotten Tomatoes score should not justify how you feel about the movie. For example, last year, Aladdin and Godzilla King of the Monsters had rotten scores. I liked both movies, but to have the critics and audience score be the same exact unlucky number is something that I was just like, okay, now I have to see this. That, and I kept hearing that the ending to this movie is unforgivable. And after seeing this movie, I would like to take this moment right now to apologize to the 2020 version of The Grudge. Because this movie right here is a term that I find myself using constantly, crap on a stick. Oh my god, is this movie unspeakably bad. I mean, let's try to find some good moments in this movie, because there's got to be something, right? Well, first of all, you have Mackenzie Davis, who I actually liked in Terminator Dark Fate. And in this movie, she's fine. There are a few points in this movie where she's overacting, but even at the moments where she overacts the most, she is still the best part about this movie. But outside of Mackenzie Davis, I can't think of a single good aspect about this movie, because the rest of this movie, as I said before, is unspeakably terrible. As for the rest of the cast in this movie, you have Brooklynn Prince as the girl that Mackenzie Davis is supposed to look after, and there's nothing special about her performance. She's just the cute little girl who might have a little bit of creepiness within her. But then you get to Finn Wolfhard, who you might remember from Stranger Things and It, as the older brother. And Finn Wolfhard in this movie delivers a Razzie-worthy performance. He is terrible here. Like, he is so bad that I never want to see him in another project again. Like, I don't even care if he comes back in Stranger Things Season 4. And the worst part about his performance is that not only is he bland and emotionless, but he is a downright creep. There are points in this movie where he is deliberately staring at Mackenzie Davis's character in a creepy way. There's one point in this movie where he specifically freaks her out and then tries to move in on a kiss for her, which that's a big no-no. And throughout most of this movie, he just acts like a spoiled teenage brat who is just completely unlikable. And yet, the housekeeper of the movie does absolutely nothing to discipline this kid. I mean, the housekeeper goes throughout the entire movie as if nothing's wrong. And Mackenzie Davis doesn't even do anything to make sure she's the one in charge and puts Finn Wolfhard's character in his place. Because I'll tell you right now, if I was in Mackenzie Davis's position, I would be like, I don't care how much they are paying me to look after you two. I am getting my belt, I am taking you out back, and I am whipping you with that belt because you are a spoiled brat. And getting back to Mackenzie Davis's character, there are just moments in this movie where she clearly has an opportunity to get out of this house and get out of this job. And there's even one point in the movie where she flat out leaves. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, leave those spoiled brats. Just go back to your apartment with your awesome roommate. Live a happy life. But then she decides to go back. Why, you may ask? Well, because she pinky swore to the little girl that she wouldn't leave her. And I'm like, you idiot. And god damn it, I don't want to bring up this cliche again in horror movies, but what is it with white people never leaving the house when it's haunted? I like making fun of this cliche, don't get me wrong, but this movie was my breaking point with that cliche. I was just watching it and thinking to myself, what do I have to do to kill this cliche? Because it's an overused cliche in a lot of horror movies, especially Paranormal Activity. And again, there's a point where she leaves the house because that's the smart thing to do, but then she turns right around back and things get worse from there, and yet she still doesn't leave. Hollywood, Unless you're doing a comedy, stop with this cliche in horror movies of white people never leaving the house, because this is the point where I'm kind of insulted by that cliche. And so when the characters aren't being annoying or making dumb decisions, the rest of the movie is just a lot of nothing happening. It's boring most of the time. It is so boring to watch. And there are just a few select moments here and there where the kids are either doing really creepy things, whether it's supernatural or just being downright creeps, or there are jump scares scattered throughout the movie, which if there's anything I can say in defense of the jump scares in this movie, at least it's not jump scares over doors opening like in Winchester. That was ridiculous. But this movie's only method of getting frights out of you is through jump scares. And as you watch this movie and think to yourself, man, this is so dull, there is nothing happening, I hope the payoff to this is going to be incredibly rewarding. Well, that would be great if there was any payoff to this movie at all. This movie doesn't even have an ending. Look, I'm going to spoil the movie right now. The movie has been out for over 2 weeks now, so by this point, you've either seen the movie or you haven't. I don't care about spoilers because this review is turning into a PSA right now. Near the end of the movie, Mackenzie Davis gets some mail from her mother, which is some artwork, and rather than the maid walking by and going, wow, that's very pretty, she just comments on Mackenzie Davis's mother's mental condition, which if I were in Mackenzie Davis's position, I would have talked back to her and went, don't you dare say anything about my mother. And throughout the next 5, maybe 10 minutes of the movie, Mackenzie Davis encounters some ghosts that were haunting the house that this movie did a terrible job at telling us who these characters were, so I just got lost and didn't care at this point. The housemaid ended up getting killed after the ghost knocked her off the edge and fell down the flight of stairs. So then Mackenzie Davis grabs the 2 kids and then leaves in her car. And I'm thinking, okay, she did the smart thing. She grabbed the kids, even though she should have left them behind, in my opinion. I would have been like, well, screw you kids, I'm out of here. I am doing the non-white person thing and getting away from this house and you too. But she was hired to take care of the kids, and I'm sure she was paid very well to do that, so she grabs the kids and gets them on out. And then the shot of the car passing the gates and leaving the house suddenly zooms out, and we go back to the point of the movie where Mackenzie Davis gets the mail from her mom, and it turns out that entire escape sequence took place within the artwork. And at that moment, I just went out loud in the theater, what? And then without going into details, Mackenzie Davis has a serious falling out with the little girl and the older brother, who already hated her. She suddenly hallucinates and sees her mother in the mental institution. The mother turns around. We never see the face, but Mackenzie Davis screams, and it cuts to black, and I'm going, please don't let this be the way the movie ends. You cannot end the movie like, oh my god, you just did it. Wow. Suddenly the ending to The Grudge is actually a lot better, because that movie at least had a conclusion. With the ending to this movie, it just stops. It's like the movie just gave up. And the moment where Mackenzie Davis sees what appears to be her mother, but she screams in horror when she sees her face, that's the equivalent of Empire Strikes Back, where Luke decapitates Vader in the cave. The helmet explodes, and we never see the face, and that's where Empire Strikes Back ends. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me with this ending. I've read some articles trying to make sense of this ending, and I'm just like, guys, don't try to give this movie any credit, because it is, for me, the worst movie of the year so far. It's lazy, it's boring, the acting ranges from really stiff and wooden to overacting, the scares are nonsensical, and the fact that this movie doesn't even bother to have an ending is unforgivable. That's the most unforgivable sin that this movie can commit, especially when you consider that the movie starts to have an ending, but then rewinds to a previous scene and goes, no, it was all an illusion. Oh, and that's another thing about this movie. There are way too many dream sequences in this movie, where something creepy is happening, but then Mackenzie Davis wakes up, and even does the Batman vs. Superman thing, where there's a dream sequence within a dream sequence. I hate dream sequences so frickin' much. Along with white people staying in a haunted house, can we kill the cliche of dream sequences? Those never work. Well, okay, it worked in Aliens, but I can't think of any other instance where dream sequences ever work. Yeah, there's nothing good to say about this movie at all. I was mostly bored watching the movie, so I would have normally said, don't waste your money. But the fact that the ending is just so insulting and irritated me so much that I gotta tell this movie to burn in hell. It's an ugly stain in the horror genre and is a movie that I do not recommend in the slightest. It doesn't fall into the category of it's so bad it's good, and it doesn't even fall into the category of it's so bad you have to see it to believe it, because it's really the ending that's so bad you need to see it to believe it. The rest of the movie is, again, crap on a stick. And there you go, that's my review for The Turning. And now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? If you don't care to see this movie at all, what do you think of the ending that I just described to you? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, leave a comment, support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.